The non-aristocratic people of the Third Estate now made up 98% of France's population, and they were yearning for equal representation in government. More specifically, they wanted votes to be counted by head instead of by status. And when time came around for the Estates General to convene in Versailles, public debate over the voting system had turned hostile, and on June 17th, talks began to stall. As a result, the Third Estate met alone and donned themselves the National Assembly. 3 days later, they all congregated in an indoor tennis court and all vowed to not disband until national reform was achieved. This would become known as the Tennis Court Oath. The National Assembly would continue to meet in Versailles, all while the capital began to be consumed by fear and violence. Rumors of a coup began to spread, and finally came to a head when on July 14th, rioters stormed the fortress of Bastille. This event is considered by many to be the start of the French Revolution. Panic and hysteria swept the countryside as peasants looted and burned the homes of tax collectors, among many others. This event, later known as the Great Fear, sped up the ever-growing exodus of nobles from the country, and as well inspired the National Assembly to abolish feudalism on August 4, 1789. That same day, the Assembly adopted the Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen. It states clearly the principles, both philosophical and political, of thinkers of the Enlightenment age. They wanted to replace the old system with one based on equal opportunity, freedom of speech, popular sovereignty, and representative government. The first written constitution in France, adopted on September 3, 1791, established a constitutional monarchy where the king enjoyed royal veto power and the ability to appoint ministers. This did not sit well with radicals such as Maximilien Robespierre and Camille Desmoulins, who wanted a more republican government and pushed for the trial of Louis XVI. In April of 1792, the newly elected Legislative Assembly declared war on Austria and Prussia in order to stop counter-revolutionary forces and spread revolutionary ideals through warfare. On August 10th of the same year, a group of insurgents attacked the royal residence in Paris, arresting the king. The Legislative Assembly would then be replaced by the National Convention, which sought to abolish the monarchy and establish the French Republic. In January of the next year, King Louis XVI was sent to the guillotine for high treason and crimes against the state. His wife, Marie Antoinette, would suffer the same fate only 9 months later. Following the execution of the king, Jacobins seized control of the National Convention, instituting a new calendar and eradicating Christianity entirely. They also began a bloody Reign of Terror, which was a 10-month period where suspected enemies of the revolution were taken to the guillotine by the thousands. Many of the executions were carried out by Maximilien Robespierre himself, up until his own execution on July 28, 1784. Robespierre's death marks the end of the Reign of Terror. On August 22, 1795, the National Convention, composed largely of Gironde members, a political group who have survived the Reign of Terror, approved a new constitution. Executive power would lie in the hands of a 5-member directory appointed by Parliament. The directory's 4 years in power were struggled with financial crisis, popular discontent, inefficiency and political corruption. After all of this, Napoleon Bonaparte abolished the directory and appointed himself.
The Haitian Revolution. On August 22nd, 1791, the slaves of Saint Dominique organized and planned a massive revolution. One of the slave revolt leaders, and the most famous, was Toussaint Louverture. Toussaint Louverture was born and raised in Saint Dominique, as well as fortunate enough to have a liberal master who trained him to be a house servant and allowed him to learn how to read and write. He later grew up to be a brilliant general and won over Haiti from Napoleon through terms of peace in 1803. Before the ending of the revolution, 100,000 out of 500,000 blacks were killed, and 24,000 out of 40,000 whites were killed. By 1804, Haiti was recognized by France as an independent nation and became the second nation in the Western Hemisphere after the United States to win its independence in a European power.